Ranil's attempts in vain, a NPP drive to lure floating votes. Dhammika gets christened by Namal. Shockwaves felt of a SLPP about to explode.
The leader, දේශයට මග කියන ප්‍රවෘත්ති පෙළගැස්ම.
Ranil's attempts in vain, a NPP drive to lure floating votes. All attempts by President Ranil during the past few weeks to pacify differences within the SLPP and garner their undivided support for him failed. Divisions pushed him towards deciding to contest as a non-partisan candidate with his other supporting elements, sans the Rajapaksas. For its part, the SLPP is to field an own candidate who aligns with its policies and vision. Critics say that this situation will give SJB Chief Sajith a good opportunity to emerge as the winner. In the meantime, state intelligence has reported to the Security Council the NPP has made plans for a major drive early next month to turn floating votes in its favour. The government hierarchy doesn't seem to take that seriously, but intelligence and defence sectors are on full alert. Another key happening last week was Colombo campus law graduate C.D. Lanawa moving the Supreme Court to determine if holding a presidential election this year is constitutional. According to him, the president's term is 6 years as per Clause 83(b) of the Constitution. The Chief Justice appointed a 5-judges panel to consider the FR petition on Monday. Now, there's criticisms and opinions galore over if this is yet another political game by Ranil. However, he denied having anything to do with the petition. That was taken by some as an indirect admission, but a key UNP figure says the president told the cabinet at its last meeting something different and important. The 19th Amendment has accepted the president's term, to be 5 years, but it had not annulled the clause which says it is 6 years. He asked the ministers about bringing in an act to make it 5 years. They've given their consent for that, says the UNP strongman. Leader TV made inquiries, and according to several ministers, nothing of the sort was discussed at their last meeting. So, everybody is having suspicions if the presidential polls will actually take place this year. The opposition treated all these happenings as Ranil's censorsat work to measure his chance. Describing it, Dulles said they all knew Ranil to be a political old hand who has avoided holding elections in the past. Dulles gives 4 reasons to show that all these are happening as per Ranil's political agenda. The first one is the constant saying by UNP's Wajira and Range Bandara that a presidential election is not needed and that Ranil should be given 12 years to save the country. Secondly, Ranil used Faiza Mustafa to defeat the Provincial Councils Act which he himself submitted. Thirdly, the local government elections too have been put off after nominations were called and deposits were accepted. When inquired about it, Ranil denies anyone having handed in nominations. But Rs 182 million of deposits have been placed by candidates. Fourthly, Ranil appointed a committee last year headed by Priyasad Depp to recommend solutions to constitutional issues. Due to these 4 reasons, this is certainly no coincidence but is part of Ranil's agenda. His intention is twofold. One is to confuse the society and the other to put off elections, adds Dulles. What will happen if the Supreme Court decides to take up their petition? After 17th of July, the Election Commission can announce the presidential elections. But if that election is considered as a matter before courts, it cannot announce it. That's why this is being done, notes Dulles. However, Ranil says Rs 8 billion had been allotted to hold the election. Ranil is known to give such dodgy answers. He told the Mahanayake of Ramana Nikaya, Makulewe Wimala, Thera when he called on him the elections commissioner was told to hold the election on time. The president's term is 5 years and it is correct for the commission to hold the election this year, Ranil said further. After the government MPs were told 6 months ago to prepare for the election, his camp has been readying for that for the past 3 months. He formed a political cabinet and several other mechanisms and launched several public welfare projects to mollify voters. Referring to opposition's suspicions if the election would actually take place, UNP National Secretary Ravi K says public approval for the president is increasing with the revival of the economy. At the same time, the opposition's propaganda mechanism has weakened and it is fearing the election. It is trying to blame it on the government. We will hold the election on time, he says. Ravi K seems to tell us that the opposition is behind Linawa's petition. Ranil, too, says it indirectly. About that, his news planter Asoka Jayatunga says in Janapathy column today, the entire country thought Lenawa to be a bogey of the cunning fox. It deepened with Range's feeler that elections should be put off for several years to give Ranil time to revive the country. Since that failed, the fox is not so foolish as to send another feeler. Telephone call and GPS device data is proving that the opposition was behind this petition. The fox issued an official statement that he is prepared for the election and that courts would be informed of his stand through the Attorney General. Anyway, the SJB insists it is yet another government attempt to put off the election. Its MP Ashoka Basinghi has told Neth News Rathu Kata that a proposal on the president's term is to be submitted to the cabinet. It is important to know what the Namal camp of the SLPP thinks about this. Here, Iranda Ginije is the key, since he is the theoretician for Namal today. Ginije says on Facebook that they had been opposing such stupid actions. The constitutional crisis has boomeranged on those who had spoken on behalf of the 19th Amendment. It is a violation of democracy either way if the president's term is raised or reduced. Ranil is short of time for his IMF project. Everybody knows he will lose badly if presidential polls are held. So he may be trying to reverse the constitutional amendment he himself introduced and remain in power further. After Aragalaya helped him to take over the public mandate, received by Gota, it is not surprising that he is shamelessly trying to get it extended. I have to ask those sons of Ranil if they are without any shame, adds Ginige. That is exactly Namal's line of thinking. So, things don't seem any rosy for Ranil, but don't take him lightly. History has proven him to be a smart one. Just like weather, things change constantly in politics too. Damika gets christened by Namal. On 05 July, a hint was given as to who would be the SLPP's presidential candidate. Damika told the country in the presence of Namal and Karyawasam that he is contesting and that he will win and build the country. He was speaking at the opening of the Policy Planning Committee office of the SLPP at Rossmead Place. Giniga is in charge there. Damika was the chief guest on the occasion. Speaking to journalists, he said 44% of voters remain undecided. Certain parties have been campaigning for 2 years, but are yet to announce their plans to build the economy. They should submit their plans within the next 90 days, said Damika.
දැන් වෙනකොට රටෙන් 144ක් තාම ඡන්දෙ දෙන්නේ කාටද කියලා ඩිසයිඩ් කරලා නැහැ. ඇයි? කොච්චර ස්ටේජ් වල ලොකුවට කතා කරාට ආර්ථිකය දියුණු කරන්න පුළුවන් කොහොමද කියලා කවුරුත් කියන්නේ නැහැ. ඒකින්ද කවුරුත් තාම 144ක් විතර ජනතාවක් තාම ඡන්දෙ දෙන්නේ කාටද කියලා තීරණය කරලා නැහැ. ඉතින් මම ජනාධිපතිවරණයට එන්න සූදානම්. හැබැයි ලංකාවේ තියෙන ලොකුම දේශපාලන පක්ෂය තීරණය කරන්න ඕනේ කවුද ජනාධිපතිවරණයට එන අපේක්ෂකයා කියලා. ඉතින් ඒක බලාගෙන මම ඉන්නවා ඕනම ඒ කියන්නේ දෙයකට ඒ කියන්නේ මැතිවරණය දිනන්න වැඩ කටයුතු ටික මම කරගෙන යනවා. ඒකට අමතරව මට තියෙන ලොකුම දේ තමයි ආර්ථිකය දියුණු කරන්න මම ස්ටේජ් එකකට ආවොත් ආර්ථිකය දියුණු කරන එක ගැන මම කියන්න වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒකිට මම ඒ වැඩ පිළිවෙල සකස් කරමින් ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ ප්‍රතිජන පෙරමුණට බාරයි කවුද එන්නේ කියලා තීරණය කරන එක.
Leader TV has been saying that Damika will be the SLPP candidate with the blessings of Basil and Namal. Last week too, he brought 10,000 people to a certificated distribution of his DP education campus in Jaffna. Certain media reported that not even Vijaya Kumaratunga, the only southern leader recognised by Jaffna, was able to attract a crowd of 10,000 These media have forgotten the fact about the difference of the times. Anyway, Damika is making a good attempt with his hopes at the presidency. Many come to politics to earn for themselves, but Damika comes to politics after earning for himself. Shockwaves felt of a SLPP about to explode. Namal met his inner circle members at his Malala Sekara Mawatha place to discuss the situation after realising the signal given him at Ranil's Matara rally organised by Kanchana. They elaborated in detail how Ranil runs the government on the SLPP's strength, but tries to lure its MPs to his side at the same time. They also conferred about holding electoral Bala Mandala meetings. Namal, Karyawasam, Johnny, Rohitha and Kutiarachchi will attend as speakers, and the plan is to secure support of seniors in the respective areas. Namal said Basil is of the view that participants should be residents of the respective area only. Every meeting should showcase Indigenous values and the SLPP identity, he added. Karyawasam explained it further that Mahinda is the only guardian and owner of the Sri Lankan identity and nationality. Our presidential candidate should possess that very same identity, he noted. It was to be announced at this meeting that Dhammika would be their candidate. Karyawasam said Ranil promised Basil to bait about 25 SJB MP stow his side by 15th of July. But he is now planning to get 25 of our MPs and form a national government, he said. Sanjeewa said that should be countered. That is exactly what happened on 6th of July. Namal said today that winning elections by dividing rival parties is an outdated strategy that is valid no more. He urged that the worst defeat suffered by the UMP be kept in mind, noting that trying to divide parties will bring certain defeat only. Instead of dividing parties, what should be done is to rise up strongly in unity, he added. At the same time, he assured that despite their differences, the government would not be allowed to collapse. In the meantime, there is talk that Ranil and Mahinda are meeting for a working dinner in a matter of days. Anyway, it is evident that Namal cannot win the crown that easily. At this rate, an explosion of the SLPP and a newly drawn political map for the country are certain. That's it for today.